Okay, we're back on the practice field this week after a week of finals. Our players have been very excited to get back out there. We focused on our young guys pretty much so far, trying to keep our old guys fundamentally sound. We'll transition into Florida State later in the week, but overall, I really like their attitude and their willingness to get better. On another note, very excited that we signed 3 junior college players today. Starts with the #1 player in junior college, DeQuil Williams, a wide receiver from Gulf Coast Community College. Dynamic player, can run, catch, do all the things it takes to be a great receiver. Offensive lineman Xavier Dampier from Copiah Lincoln, got the ability to play center, guard, just a big, strong kid. And then safety Derek Moncrief from Gulf Coast Community College, a big, physical guy that can tackle and has very good cover skills. So that's what's happened this morning, and we got to practice later on this afternoon.
Questions?
Coach, 2 of the 4 Heisman Trophy finalist quarterbacks you guys have played and beaten. How do you think facing A.J. McCarron, Johnny Manziel, or even Aaron Murray has helped you prepare for Jameis Winston? I know they're different quarterbacks.
Well, you're exactly right. We have faced some dynamic quarterbacks. They're all a little bit different, but won a lot of games. I hope that will help us. Obviously, we're playing the Heisman Trophy winner, the best player in college football, so we got our work cut out for us. But anytime you play other good quarterbacks, it's got to help.
Coach, everybody's talking about how good of an athlete Jameis Winston is, a 2-sport star, but Nick Marshall back in high school, quite the basketball star himself. I saw a 360 windmill dunk on his highlight tape. What have you seen from him as an athlete, a good athlete on the field?
Yeah, when we signed him, we knew he was a good athlete. Just transition that over to the quarterback position. And, I think you can see that once he gets out in space and one-on-one situations, he's extremely hard to tackle. And he's very tough. He's a very good athlete, but he's very tough. And he's really impressed us this year.
Coach, can you talk about how Trey Mason's developed as running back as the season's gone on? His great performance.
Trey has gotten more confident each game. I mean, he was pretty confident coming into the year. We knew he was a very solid run back. And it just seems like he started playing his best football when we played our best opponents, and really wanted the ball. A lot of hard yards between the tackle. Just was a true physical presence, and got better. And he's playing his best ball right now, and we'll need another great effort from him this next game.
You guys hit a lot in the spring. How much did that help you going forward and instilling the kind of attitude you want, especially on the offensive line?
Yeah, in the spring, we were as physical as we could be, every day. And we just felt like it was very important that we got our edge back. And we were very physical in fall camp, too. And, we were a little banged up going into the year, but we just felt like that's what we needed. That's who Auburn is. And we're probably the only team in the country that actually let our quarterbacks go live in the fall, too. And so that really helped us get where we're at. And that's who we are.
When you say who Auburn is, how did you determine that philosophy? Is it something you figured out when you were here the first time?
Yeah, when I was here before. Auburn's a blue-collar, hard-nosed, physically and mentally tough. That's who we are, and that's how we win football games here. And that's how they've done it for a long time. And we just felt like that was the one thing we had to get back, and that's what we focused on.
Can you talk about the offensive line? Because to put numbers up like you have in a running game, you got to have an offensive line that wins in the trenches.
Yeah, we knew going into the season our offensive line was going to be one of our strengths, and they got better and better, started to gel. Coach J.B. Grimes did a wonderful job with them. The unique thing is we're fairly deep. We've got a lot of depth there, and anytime you have depth, it creates competition. And we've stayed pretty healthy up front, too. I think that's a big factor, but, anytime you can run the football when people know you're going to run the football against the defenses that we had, that we've went against, the offensive line deserves a lot of credit.
Is there, other than being in this game before, is there any better preparation for a BCS championship game than this Iron Bowl, the way that was, and then the SEC championship game?
Yeah, I think if you look at our entire schedule, I'd like to think we're battle tested. We've been in some true dogfight games. We've been in some games where the pressure was on the road, at home, and our guys have responded. And in big games, I know they're not going to panic. And so I got to believe that that'll help us moving forward.
With the offensive line and Reese, how has he kind of evolved as a leader from his freshman year until now?
Reese? Yeah, Reese is one of our overall team leaders. Him and Chris Davis go out for our coin flips as our team captains, each game. But he's a leader in practice. He's an extension of his coaches. He demands that the other offensive players practice at a high level. And that's what it takes. I mean, to have a championship-type team, you've got to have leaders that really raise the bar for the rest of their teammates. It can't just be coaches.
As Florida State leads the nation in interceptions, you commented the other night on their speed across the board, but just can you comment on what you see as a challenge going up against their secondary? It's obviously just so good against the pass. Yeah,
they're extremely fast. Their defensive backs, you can tell, have very good ball skills. And then they've had the ability to get big leads on people and make them throw the football. And, when they know that you're going to throw it, they're very good at it.
What is it about Marcus Joyner that makes him such a top-end cornerback?
Yeah, he tackles well. He plays very good on the line of scrimmage, near the line of scrimmage. He covers well. He's just one of the top players defensively in the country.
What do you know about Jeremy Pruitt?
Jeremy Pruitt's an old high school coach, and I've got a chance to coach against him a couple times when he was at Alabama. Talked to him numerous times, got a lot of respect for him. The high school coaches kind of stick together a little bit.
Coach, how much is Trey a throwback? You talk about wanting the ball. That's kind of how guys were.
Yeah.
I know you have to share the ball more now, it seems, but how much is Trey a throwback to that back that wanted the ball all the time?
Well, he's got some old school in him, there's no doubt. He's a tough guy. Wants the ball. Anytime you've carried the ball 40-plus times, he still wants it. And I've said this before, I think we could have gave it to him 10 more times if the game was on the line. As a matter of fact, I know we could. And that sounds a little crazy, but that's his mentality. And he's got a great passion to win, to want to win. And, he's a big reason why we're here.
Guys, can you talk about signing the #1 wide receiver in the country? I guess that was a challenge considering how much you guys ran the ball this year.
Well, this year, but if you look back, we've had years where we throw it a lot, and we're going to get more and more balanced, next year. And anytime you got a dynamic guy like him coming, that's a really good thing.
Coach, at the beginning of the season, you talked about Jay being one of the best at his position that you've ever coached. How has he proven that to you throughout this entire season?
Well, of course, I coached with JB last year. Of course, he's an old Arkansas guy, so we go way back, and I already knew him pretty well. But he's one of the best teachers that ever been around. If the toe is 2 inches too wide, he's not happy. I mean, he's very specific. He's got a knack that he has great relationships with his players. They respond to him. He's one of the best in the country.
Coach, talk about the extended time, how much this means for Nick and what you can do with him. It's more time than you've had really work with him at all. It means a lot. It means a lot that we can kind of slow down. We can get really work hard on just some minor details that we weren't able to do, in fall camp. We had to start game planning after he was named the starter. And so Coach Lash is going to get a chance to really work on the fine tuning of his footwork, delivery, and everything that goes with it. So I got to believe this will be a very big help for him.
What do you think it says just about the talent in this area and even Florida, that the top 3 teams are where they're at right now and they pretty much got similar rosters?
Yeah, I mean, of course, this is a great area as far as recruiting, as far as talent, and they're extremely talented. I mean, I would probably put their talent up against anybody that, anybody in the country.
How much are you leaning on Damian Craig's knowledge of Florida State for your game plan?
Yeah, I mean, of course, Damian was there, and he knows some of their players, but it's like anything else. We've played. A lot of our coaches. Coach Garner at Georgia. We played a lot of different teams, and you get an idea, but at the end of the day, year to year is different, and so.
Is it possible that any of the JUCO signees, including DeQuil Williams, could join the team for bowl practice after Christmas?
We're still working on that.
Is it important to, as you got all this time, to change some things, give Florida State something to think about, and then do you expect that from them as well when you got this kind of body?
Yeah, I think anytime you got a long period of time, there's going to be some gamesmanship. There's going to be some wrinkles on both sides of the football, and usually it takes a quarter, and you start getting in a rhythm, and you understand what they're doing. They understand what you're doing. But at the end of the day, they're going to do what they're really good at, and we're going to do what we're really good at, and we'll see what happens.
Because how have you seen Chris Davis change? Have you seen him change at all since the play against Alabama, or is he still the same?
Not since the Alabama. He's still the same person. But what I've seen is all year he's continued to improve. His leadership on our team has continued to improve. He wanted to return punts, and he made that. He's very adamant with it. And so I'm glad our coaches gave him an opportunity. I mean, he's really helped us in a big way. And obviously that return, was one of the defining moments of our season. But he's done a great job for us. He was injured there for a game or two, and it hurt us. I mean, he's one of our top players and top playmakers and top leaders.
What did you see from him that made you want him to be a captain and to kind of lead the defense?
Well, I had a relationship with him before when I was here. He's got leadership ability. He's a tough guy, and he earned that through spring and through fall camp. And his teammates have a lot of respect for him.
Can you talk about Sammy's development as a wide receiver and what that meant to the running game with people having to respect him deep?
Well, Sammy can really run, and Coach Craig's done a wonderful job with him, and he's improved each game. Obviously he gives us a deep threat, and anytime you got a guy that can run that as tall as him and can jump, that's a threat. And when his time has come and when his number's been called, he's delivered this year.
How far has he come on an individual level, just going back into the spring, just in his confidence and mentally more than even just physically?
Yeah, I think he's greatly improved. He's become a better player without the ball. And that's hard to do for receivers.
As good as Nick was in the championship game, I'm sure you guys have pointed to those three fumbles. What do you guys try to do to beat that into his mind a little bit, I guess?
Yeah. You're exactly right. That's what we're focusing on. We got to protect the football, and of course that's where it starts with the quarterback. And Coach Lashley's on top of that, and really believe we'll get that corrected.
Coach, who are some of the younger guys that are starting to stand out even more now?
You talking about red shirts?
Practice, yeah.
It's really hard to one guy sticking out, but we're letting them compete. Overall, I've been happy with the whole group. I mean, they're excited. Our coaches, a lot of those guys on the scout team, in the middle of a season, it's hard for position coaches really to get a good look at them. And they really responded well. It's good for our coaches to evaluate those guys and spend time with them. And it's been a really good thing the last couple of days.
Coach, you guys have been on DeQuil Williams for a long, long time. What really stuck out about him as a player? What really impressed you?
Well, he's a playmaker. You just get him the ball, and he makes things happen. He can go get it. He can run. You can hand it to him. I mean, he's got all the tools.
Gus, a lot's been made of the defensive line, especially the conditioning, but the defensive line with rotating that many guys that you guys play. Talk about how has that helped you win games? I remember talking to players after the Texas A&M game saying you told them even they were going to be better conditioned and be able to stop Johnny and those type of things.
Well, Coach Russell, first of all, has done an outstanding job with our whole team as far as our conditioning. And we have all but one game, we've really performed well in the fourth quarter. Our defensive line, Coach Garner has done a good job of keeping his guys fresh, in the fourth quarter, especially against these top quarterbacks that can throw it so well.
What about Jay Prosh and just his ability to lead on and off the field?
Yeah. Jay Prosh is very valuable to us, and he gets overlooked a lot. I know his stats, you don't get a chance to really see, in the paper, the stats the next day, but he is a physical presence. And a lot of times, he's a point of attack guy, and he gets us started. And he's a tough guy. He makes everybody on our team tougher. He's just a winner.
Coach, there's been a lot of talk about your staff in recent weeks. Kind of go back, what went into the process of putting together that staff when you got hired?
Well, the first thing we wanted to do is get men of character that were great examples for our players, and that's where we started. And then we went after guys that at the same time had very good resumes. And so we hired our coordinators first. I gave the coordinators some ownership. I thought, being a former coordinator, it was very important that your rooms are close. And we really have something special with our staff. They've done a wonderful job, and they're a big reason why we're here.
We obviously know you're involved in the offense, but can you just take us about how involved you are with the defense, how much you try to help out there, and even on game days? 'Cause I know you mentioned you kind of stand off a little far back to get a good look at things. How do you contribute on game days?
Yeah, just try to do my best job to being an overall head coach, game management, and everything that goes with it. And obviously, anytime you're an offensive-minded guy, you can kind of have a good idea of what possibly could be coming. So we'll communicate, but at the same time, we got a lot of confidence in Ellis Johnson, one of the best to ever coach in our league.
Gus, what did Russell do specifically to kind of change the mentality here when he came in? What kind of got the ball rolling?
Well, he's a very energetic guy, and he has a high standard. There's no gray area, and he's very consistent. And I think that's where it started, just from the discipline part, accountability part. And then, we're a no-huddle team. I mean, everything we do is fast, and he's very big on the stretching and the recovery. And our guys, they really like working out, and he works the dog out of them. And I just think that's a tribute to him.
Because defensively, you guys are struggling against some of the top-end receivers in the SEC over the course of the season. And this team has 3 receivers, I think, with over 900 yards receiving. They're all pretty tall guys. Ellis has said that there's nothing you can do to make Chris or Jonathan taller than they are, but what can you do to help prepare them for another game where they're going to go up against tall guys who are very productive?
Well, I think anytime you have experience, you're exactly right. We played some very talented receivers. It's a complete defensive deal. It's not just receivers versus DBs. I mean, we need to find a way to put pressure on the quarterback. Everything works together. But the main thing is we need to keep away from the big play. That's the number one thing that we've been preaching to our guys.
Coach, obviously, you were in 2010 and saw what Nick Fairley did on the D-line. How much is D Ford taking on that role of being the force up front? I know you got a lot of guys up there, but how much is D?
Well, D Ford's our leader. There's no doubt he's an impact player. He has the ability to make a play when the game's on the line. He's showed that this year. And, he plays his best games in the biggest moments, and we're going to need him to do that again.
Gus, can you kind of speak to the push the offensive line gets, especially against Missouri? It was really evident that they were getting a good yard push, allowing Trey and Nick to open.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a key to our running game. We've done a good job of not giving up penetration, and because Missouri was a very attacking defense, a lot of movement, more movement than a lot of people we've seen. We just felt like if we kept away from penetration and got Trey going, with a little push, and that's what they were able to do. And we're going to have to. That'll be a big challenge against this next group.
I think a common denominator is that from the 2010 team, they may not get a ton of attention, but the offensive lines for both those teams were awfully good.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Anytime you get to this game, you're going to be pretty good up front on the offensive line. And 2010, we had a veteran group, one of the strengths of our team. And this year's no different. Offensive line is one of our strengths, if not our strength, and helped us get here.
Just going back and looking at the line in the spring, and we had to fill the left guard spot, and you were rotating a lot of guys in the spring between Jordan and Devontae and Alex, and kind of mixing and matching. Just can you comment on the maturation of Alex Kozan? Did you think he would be starting all 13 games for you this season?
All positions we opened up. I know the other 4 had returning starters, but we opened up every one of them, and that one took a little bit longer. But Alex had an excellent year. He's a great competitor. He's a tough guy. Got better and better, each game. He's got a very bright future.
Got time for a few more?
Gus, you got secondary issues with depth as far as this year. Talk about Derek Moncrief, getting him in early, and how big that is for you.
Yeah, that'll be very big. I mean, obviously we're very thin at safety position, and we're losing a senior. So that'll be big in the spring and provide us depth.
Gus, it might be hard to find a Waffle House in Pasadena. Do you have a backup plan?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Could you talk a little bit about?
Similar to anybody that you played this year, or not really, and how challenging on film? I know you have.
You know, really, the best way to answer that, I think they're probably the fastest defense we faced. We faced some really fast ones, but they may be the fastest. I mean, they can really run, and they're good tacklers.
All right, Coach. Thank you.